It was a crisp Saturday afternoon, and the downtown park was alive with the buzz of weekend activity. Families were picnicking on the grass, kids were playing in the playground, and joggers were moving along the paths. Among all this normalcy, one man stood out, not because he was special, but because he was about to make a grave mistake that would haunt him for a long time. His name was Tom, a regular guy with an average job and an average life. But on this particular Saturday, he was feeling unusually frustrated. Everything seemed to be going wrong. His work was stressful, his relationship was rocky, and he felt like he was stuck in a rut. The weight of all these problems was pressing down on him, and he wanted to do something, anything, to feel better. As Tom walked through the park, he spotted a small gathering near the bandstand. There was a community event happening, a fun fair with games, food stalls, and a local band playing upbeat tunes. People were laughing and enjoying themselves, and Tom felt a pang of envy. He wished he could escape his troubles and have a good time, too. Tom wandered over to the bandstand, where a group of kids were playing a game involving tossing rings onto pegs. Nearby, a woman was selling cotton candy, its pink fluff a stark contrast to the gray clouds hanging overhead. Tom watched with a mixture of longing and frustration. He was in no mood for games or sweets, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. That's when he noticed a small booth set up for a charity raffle. A big sign read, "Win a free prize. All proceeds go to a good cause." Next to the sign, there was a table with a big jar filled with raffle tickets and a box full of small prizes like stuffed animals and novelty toys. Tom approached the booth, where a friendly young volunteer was handing out tickets. "Care to try your luck?" the volunteer asked with a smile. Tom hesitated for a moment, but then shrugged. "Sure, why not?" he said. He took a ticket and tossed $1 into the donation jar. He didn't really care about the prize. He just wanted to do something different. The volunteer handed him a ticket and pointed to the small pile of prizes on the table. "You can pick a prize if you like," she said. Tom glanced at the toys and picked a bright yellow rubber ducky, one of the least flashy items on the table. He forced a smile and thanked the volunteer before moving away. He felt silly holding the rubber ducky, but he shoved it into his jacket pocket and continued to wander through the park. As the afternoon wore on, Tom's frustration grew. He felt increasingly out of place among the joyful crowds. The more he tried to blend in, the more he felt like an outsider. His thoughts darkened, and he began to imagine how easy it would be to cause a scene, just to let off some steam. Finally, Tom found himself near the bandstand again. The band was playing an upbeat song, and the crowd was dancing and clapping along. Tom felt a strange mix of anger and jealousy. He wanted to be part of the fun, but he couldn't shake the feeling that it was all just out of reach. Without thinking, Tom reached into his pocket and pulled out the rubber ducky. He stared at it, a ridiculous little thing that seemed to symbolize everything he felt was wrong in his life. Then, with a sudden burst of reckless energy, he walked up to the bandstand and threw the rubber ducky onto the stage. The ducky bounced and rolled across the wooden floor of the stage, landing right in front of the lead singer. The music stopped abruptly, and the crowd fell silent. Everyone turned to look at Tom, who was standing there, his face flushed with embarrassment and defiance. The lead singer picked up the rubber ducky, holding it up to the microphone. "Looks like we've got a special guest on stage," he said, trying to make light of the situation. The crowd chuckled, but Tom's face turned bright red. Realizing the gravity of what he'd done, Tom tried to slip away, but the attention was now all on him. The crowd began to murmur, and a few people pointed fingers. Some laughed, while others looked disapproving. Tom felt a sinking sensation in his stomach. He had wanted to be noticed, but not like this. As Tom tried to leave, he was intercepted by a couple of security guards. They approached him with concerned expressions. "Sir, we need to talk to you," one of them said. Tom's heart pounded. "I didn't mean to cause trouble," he stammered. "I'm sorry." The guards escorted him to a quieter area away from the crowd. Tom tried to explain that he was just having a rough day and didn't mean any harm, but his words sounded hollow even to him. The security guards took his details and warned him that his actions could lead to a ban from future events. Tom left the park feeling humiliated and defeated. What had started as a small, silly act of frustration had turned into a public spectacle. He walked home in a daze, the rubber ducky still tucked away in his jacket pocket, now a symbol of his regret. The next day, the story of the rubber ducky incident was all over social media. People had taken photos and videos of the event, and the clips were being shared widely. Tom became the butt of jokes and memes. The embarrassment was overwhelming, and he found it hard to escape the ridicule. Tom knew he had made a mistake, but the harsh reality of public shaming was something he hadn't anticipated. He felt like he had let his frustration get the best of him, and, in doing so, had made himself a laughingstock. The weight of his actions was heavier than he had expected, and the feeling of regret was almost unbearable. In the weeks that followed, Tom tried to lay low and avoid public places where he might be recognized. He took time to reflect on his actions and the reasons behind them. He realized that his outburst was a cry for help, a way to express the anger and confusion he felt about his life. But rather than finding a constructive way to deal with his emotions, he had chosen a path of public humiliation. Slowly, Tom began to make amends. He volunteered for the charity that ran the raffle booth, trying to make up for the trouble he had caused. He attended counseling sessions to address his frustrations and learned healthier ways to cope with stress. Over time, the rubber ducky incident became a distant memory. The story faded from the public eye, and Tom was able to move on. But the experience left him with a valuable lesson: the importance of managing one's emotions and the potential consequences of acting out in public. Tom learned that while he couldn't erase his past actions, he could control how he responded to his mistakes. His most horrific moment in public became a turning point, a reminder to be mindful of his actions and to seek help when needed. The rubber ducky, once a symbol of his regret, now served as a reminder of how far he had come and the lessons he had learned along the way.